Hi, this is Chris at Perfect Mondays, and if you find it challenging to put boundaries in your business and your personal life, today I'm going to be sharing a really powerful strategy for you to do just that, so stick around. Hi, this is Chris at Perfect Mondays, the place for women entrepreneurs who want to thrive and grow their business without drama and without overwhelm. So if you're a woman entrepreneur who wants to start working smarter instead of harder, if you want to get more balance in your life, if you want to start focusing more on the things that you're really powerful instead of robbing from your business by doing things that you're not supposed to be doing, this is a place for you. And today I'm going to be sharing a really powerful tool for you to start placing boundaries in your life. I find that boundaries is somewhere where a lot of women entrepreneurs struggle because you play many roles. You're an entrepreneur, so that means you're a boss. And that means you're also interacting with clients, and many of you have a significant other in your lives, and many of you have children. So every time we play these roles, each one of those areas requires a different set of skills for us to be able to navigate through them. And when we don't have boundaries, it's really difficult for us to scale. I keep saying this again and again. Whenever we have something that's painful, if you want to scale, sometimes that means in your mind duplicating or triplicating your pain if you haven't solved that issue. So why are boundaries so important? Here's why. Besides the fact that they can disrupt our lives tremendously, when we have boundaries, it allows us to open our hearts. And why is opening your heart so dang important? Well, here's why. In your business, you're gonna have to make a lot of decisions based on intuition. Now, I'm totally all for data. In fact, I help my clients to see data more clearly so they can make smarter decisions. However, as an entrepreneur, there's so many times in your life we're gonna have to make decisions where you don't have all the data, when you only have a few specific things and you have to connect the dots in your mind and in your heart. This is where intuition comes into play. Now, why isn't it just as easy as turning on the light to turn on your intuition? Well, it's not as simple as that. Opening your heart is the key to feeling more, to becoming more vulnerable, and to actually tapping into your intuition. But a lot of people don't do this because it's painful. And here's why. Opening your heart means that you have to allow a lot more feelings in, but people don't know that there's a filter you can put, which is called boundaries, for you to prevent the crap from actually overtaking your life. So if you're going through your life and you feel that you've been shutting down a little bit, if you're not as receptive, if your intuition is not as heightened as it could be, sometimes in your life you have a major circumstance, or you have a set of events that make it really painful for you to go through life or your day-to-day, and then you start shutting down your heart as a way to protect yourself from feeling like crap and actually being able to do the things you need to do. So this works up to a certain point. It means you stop feeling many of the crappy things in life. It doesn't solve them, you just stop feeling them. And it also means that because you shut down your heart, you can't just shut out the crappy things, you also shut out the amazing things in life, your fulfillment, your vision, your drive, and many of the things that are gonna allow you to align yourself with that vision and execute in a more powerful way by tapping into your intuition. So, Chris, if the situation is that you have to open your heart more and be able to put more boundaries, how do you do it? Well, today I'm sharing a powerful way to do it. Number one, I want you to think about in your life and in your business, because sometimes things that happen in your personal life also prevent us from growing our business. It's not just business related. If you have, for example, a lack of boundary with your children, if you have children, and that makes it really painful for you to go to sleep on time, then when you wake up in the morning, you're gonna be cranky for your clients. So things are many times interconnected. It's not as easy as saying, this is my personal life, this is my business. Things impact you in more ways than you realize. So when it comes to boundaries, I want you to think for a moment right now, what is one area of your life, whether it's with a client, with an employee, with a significant other, or in your personal life, in another area of personal life, what are some of those boundaries that keep coming back at you and keep recurring and make it really painful for you to move forward, make it really painful for you to actually go through life without having to expend a lot of energy. Now, in terms of spending energy is not created equal. It's not proportional to the time that you spend doing something. What does that mean? It means, for example, that if you don't have the proper boundaries and you get a text message from an employee asking you a really stupid question, right? Something that should be able to address by themselves. Sometimes if it's something that's recurring, you might get really upset, and those 30 seconds that it took you to read the message and to respond might affect you for, 2-3 hours, right? This happens all the time in our business. So protecting that space is really important, but understanding what are those areas in your life right now? What are some of those things, those people or circumstances that keep recurring that a boundary needs to be placed? If you think of one of those areas, you're in the right place. So what is the next question? The next question that you need to ask yourself, actually question number one, once you recognize the area, is what specific feeling do I have right now? What is the specific feeling that I'm having right now? Why is this important? Because recognizing feelings allows you to start putting ideas into a better space, into a better bucket, if you will. And when you don't recognize feelings, you can just say things like, well, this feels like shit, or this feels like crap, and that's not a feeling. It doesn't help you start moving in the right direction. So let's say, for example, that you recognize that the feeling is frustration. The consistent feeling you get from this interaction or this lack of boundaries, frustration, or feeling disrespected, or feeling vulnerable, or feeling whatever it is. Once you recognize that, then the second question, question number two, is what is the specific agreement or boundary that has been broken that makes me feel this way? Again, what is the specific agreement or boundary that has been broken that makes me feel this way? Why is this important? Well, number one, you need to recognize what keeps happening. I want it to be as specific as possible. But secondly, because I had a video earlier when I talk about assumptions, and sometimes we assume that we have communicated these agreements to people, and sometimes we haven't. Or if we have, it hasn't been in the most powerful way. I've been having maybe 2 or 3 conversations this past week with clients who need to have really important conversations with some of their most important employees. And what I find out is that, yes, they have addressed that something needs to change. You need to stop disrespecting me, or you need to stop doing X, you need to stop showing up a specific way, but it's still an ambiguous term. And the more specific you can be, the better it is for the other person to be able to make these changes. Now, like I said, sometimes we implicitly, believe that we have communicating this boundary when we haven't, and sometimes we have explicitly done this, but it hasn't been in the most effective way. Now, you could also have been super specific and the person still keeps doing this. So it's still important just to recognize what exactly has been communicated, and if it hasn't, what could be communicated in terms of the specific things that you need to be done. So once you understand what is the feeling that you have and what is the specific boundary or agreement that has been broken, the third question is, what do I specifically need? And I'm using the word need instead of want, because wanting sometimes is, I want to ignore this. I want to just put this under the rug. I want things to magically change without me having to say anything. I want to avoid confrontation. I want to, whatever it is that you're feeling. And wanting things sometimes prevent you from doing things that you really need to do. And in terms of need, what specific behavior needs to change? What specific action needs to happen? And this is really important, again, as I was talking before, that sometimes you have agreements that are implicit. When you go to the third step and you recognize what are those things that really must happen, be as specific as possible. Give examples if you can. Tell people what needs to change. And something that's really important is to start understanding what are the behaviors that have to change, right? Step number 4 involves asking yourself a much better question. Sometimes when you're struggling with saying something to someone, there's something that I've heard often, like people feel like I feel like I'm being a bitch if I tell this to someone. I feel like I'm being such an asshole, or I don't want to hurt this person's feelings. And between being a bitch and being a doormat, there's a huge gray area where you can actually step up and have conversation. Now, sometimes it's difficult to see because there's a lot of feelings involved, but you've recognized what is that feeling, what are those specific feelings, and what do you specifically want. The fourth step is asking yourself the question, what is the most assertive and compassionate way to assert my truth and communicate my needs? One more time. What is the most compassionate and assertive way for me to assert my truth and communicate what I need? The reason why I'm putting compassionate again with assertiveness is because you need to be super direct and super specific. At the same time, you don't want to be an asshole about it. Now, there's times where being compassionate is the most compassionate you can be with someone in a really difficult situation. Might be to contact your attorney, to contact their attorney because they've overstepped a huge boundary. Let's hope that this is not the case. For the most part of your challenges in life, that's not going to be the situation. Most challenges in life can be really addressed one-on-one. And in this specific case, if you take the burden of hurting someone's feeling by doing it in the most compassionate way that you know how to, if they react a different way, it's really going to be up to them. You can't control that. You can't control the way you say things. So what does this mean? It means like if someone was going to come to me and tell me this, what would be the way in which I would appreciate being told this while being assertive? I don't want you to sugarcoat things. I don't want you to hide things. I want to say things directly, but I want to say it in a compassionate way. In terms of compassion, I think that that's one area where people can really own their message and say it in a powerful way. And oftentimes saying things in a compassionate way involves thinking of how we would like to receive this information. So let's review this one more time. So before you start this process, you need to understand what is the boundary, the area in your life where this keeps happening consistently. You choose one to start with. And your first question is, how does this make me feel specifically? And you need to understand the feeling, because this is going to help you start putting things in buckets and categories. And shitty is not a feeling. Feeling disrespected, feeling undermined, feeling whatever it is going to start helping you understand where this is coming from. The second question is, what is a specific agreement or boundary that has been broken that is making me feel this way? And again, this is just for you to start realizing that some of the things you might be upset about, the boundaries, may not have been spoken. If they have been spoken, they may not be effectively communicated. They have been ambiguously, you may have used ambiguous terms that do not address specifically some examples or some specific things that you want people to do. The third step is, what do I specifically need? What is the behavior that I need to change? Or the thing that the other person needs to do differently. And step number 4 is, what is the most assertive and compassionate way for me to assert my truth and communicate my needs? And one more time, this is not about what you want, this is what you need. And saying things in a way that is not aggressive. The last step, I want to make sure that when you communicate your message, you communicate in a way that addresses the behavior and not the identity. People will do whatever it takes to remain consistent with their identity. And if you attack someone's identity, like anything that says you are, means you're telling them that they've done something really wrong. If you say the behavior, the action that you took, the way you showed up, things that address that it creates more distance between them and their action, allows you to navigate this much more effectively. So I hope this is helpful. If it is, I'd love for you to click on the like button and subscribe to my channel. If you want, you can also click on the little bell notification icon for you to get my videos every time I post them. And if you think this is valuable for someone that you know, please also share this video as well. And most importantly, if you're a woman entrepreneur and you say, Chris, this is amazing information, I see your videos all the time, and I just have a hard time implementing this in my life, this is exactly what I do, I would love to help you out and support you the way that I've supported hundreds of entrepreneurs. There's no reason for you to struggle. There's no reason for you to suffer. That's optional. Just raise your hand. There's going to be a link directly underneath the description of this video that's going to say, it's going to have a way for you to connect with me and explore if we might be a good fit to work together. And there's also a second link underneath that, the second link underneath the description of this video, that's going to allow you to check out some of the case studies of many of the women entrepreneurs I've been able to help, to hear their success stories, to hear how we've been able to work through some really difficult issues. And beyond inspiration, it might give you a few ideas on where you are in your process and how you might get unstuck. So thank you so much for watching, and I send you all my love from Austin.